all good.
Yeah.
What is on your shoulder?
What is on my shoulder?
I don't know.
Which shoulder?
It's a spider. Y'all are cute.
Oh,
What is
it? It's literally poop or something.
the fuck is it? It's gone now. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Maybe that'll be the teaser.
Probably should be.
In a world where one man has poop on his shoulder.
Trigger warning. We want to be mindful and respectful of all of our viewers and listeners. So I'd like to take this time to let you know that this episode, we discuss sexual abuse. This would be a good time to stop listening if you have little ones near you or if this subject bothers you. We do not intend to offend anyone and would like to let you know ahead of time what you're getting into. Now, back to the show. And welcome to the Riley Black Project. Chris and John.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going.
Yeah, you know, I did it again. We
What?
just because we did so many without guests.
Uh-huh.
I didn't ask them like
Ask him
what
what?
company or
Oh,
whatever.
his company name?
Yeah, do you know his company's name?
Sure don't.
Okay. Well, on the show tonight we have Sane Whitecloud with I don't know who, but he's an awesome guy.
What's your company name?
Team Valor.
Okay, there we go.
What is it?
Team Valor.
Team Valor. All right, makes perfect sense
Right.
with your background. How's it going, Shane?
It's going good. How are you guys doing?
Good. So we, I don't know. I think you knew him prior.
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. So
No,
we
I
met him.
We both met him at
the
the same
conference.
time.
At the conference, and he's like, we met because he saw me, shooting video and stuff, and he commented about like, oh, you're steady or whatever. And I had seen his backpack. And I knew he had camera equipment in the backpack because it's one of those. It's a gear pack,
Right? You spotted him.
Right. So I was like, oh, thanks. I'm like, we were talking about business like that,
right?
And then later,
what was that?
It was like the computer's Siri thing that pops up.
Oh,
yeah, that was weird. Anyway, so then later on he comes like, you know what? You have a lot of my money. Because he's like he didn't realize it like Riley Black Project is also Riley Black Designs, and he'd spent a lot of money. He's like you guys have a lot of my money because of your files.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I bought so many watch band files because I was in this huge watch band craze. In fact, I have cases of them back there because like the SWAT team in Reno and stuff gets their watch bands from. I was like, how am I going to do this? And so probably a year or two before I even met you physically, I was like looking you up and buying your files on the Etsy's and stuff.
That's awesome. Well, so I guess a little known fun fact is I haven't done a watch band in probably at least a year or two, if not.
I'd say longer.
Yeah, a long time. And they're still one of my best sellers of the designs. And I'm like, I kind of feel like I should make more because they're a really good seller for me. But like, then I have to find a tester because I sold.
Oh, you got rid of all the watch bands.
It looks like I have a volunteer.
I'll test them all, my darling. I'll test them.
Yeah, because I don't even.
I'm wearing one of them right now, actually. There you go. See, there you go.
Nice. Which one is it?
This is I think it's the Second Amendment one with the We the People. Is that one from you or is that somebody else's?
Yeah.
Okay, then I probably got it from Heather. So Heather, if you're watching this, thank you.
She doesn't watch this far.
No, she's an asshole.
She watches the intro.
She's the worst best friend.
Yeah.
She was hitting me up last night like, hey, I heard you're going to be on the show. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for reminding me. But yeah, I think you got a lot of the floral patterns and stuff, and that's the ones that I made for my wife and all of her friends.
Yeah, she does too. Yeah, I mean, Heather and I, it's funny because like we're really similar, but different in our like designs and style, and we're surprised that there hasn't like really been too much of like an overlap. And even when we make the same thing. So one year we were both working on holly earrings and they were completely different, but we were both like, I was like, because I think we were working on like, what free file could we do for, it was something, I don't know. And she's like, I was like, I think I'm going to do holly earrings. And she was like, Me too. And I was like, I bet you they're going to look different, but like,
right.
Yeah. So anyway.
Welcome to the revolution in laser engraving. Introducing Lens Digital, the creators of the game-changing Pyburn rotary attachment. With the Pyburn 4.0, you can turn ordinary cups, tumblers, glasses, and more into extraordinary masterpieces.
Looking to engrave niche items or want the functionality of a Chuck rotary? Look no further than the Pyburn Grip, Lens Digital's Chuck-style rotary. With a range of different sized jaws, you can easily engrave a wide variety of items. All Lens Digital products are compatible with most CO2 and Galvo lasers and were designed specifically for the laser industry. All that paired with the best-in-class customer support, Lens Digital is your one-stop shop for all of your rotary needs.
Transform your laser engraving game with Lens Digital, where makers succeed. Unleash your creativity today.
And don't forget, we are proud Lens Digital affiliates as well. If you're shopping, code Riley Black will take $50 off any order of $600 or more.
Speaking of all things laser, check out Houston Acrylic at houstonacrylic.com for reliable laser tested and laser approved materials.
Made for makers by makers, Houston Acrylic features over 450 styles of acrylic sheets. With over 50 new arrivals being released this month, Houston Acrylic is committed to bringing new and innovative styles to the laser community. My personal favorite is the matte, anything matte, and I feel it's perfect for everything.
Don't forget to save 10% by using our exclusive coupon code TRBP10 at checkout. Get inspired today and visit houstonacrylic.com.
Do it.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So, what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser-ready blanks.
Nice.
So we met you at the conference and you were you're super awesome. We got along great. And we were like, I think you, Tony, came up to me and you're like, that guy, Shane, we need him on the podcast.
Yeah, I was like, because we were talking, he was telling me about his work with the VA and how he got into lasers.
Right.
And I was like, will you be on the podcast?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I love to be on. So yeah, because the story is great. So
So
tech nerds.
So yeah.
I love it.
That's about it.
So yeah, I had a really rough kind of coming up in my younger years. I joined the military whenever I was 17, straight out of high school.
Ooh,
And
wow.
joined the Navy and got assigned to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. So I mean, it was just like, wow, here we go. And then I went out to sea, went to Kuwait, and then on the way back from Kuwait, which that still messes with me a little bit. But on the way back from Kuwait, I was in a pretty serious accident on the ship, and it required surgery. And I was on an oiler, so they had to medevac me by helicopter from the oiler over to the carrier of the fleet, which was pretty close by. Never been in a helicopter before until that, so it was like I was just, this is cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I'll hurt myself more often,
Right.
And they fly me over to the aircraft carrier, the USS Constellation, and I'm at this point I'm 18. I turned 18 a couple of months after boot camp, so we're a year into this. I'm almost 19, and I had to go in for surgery. And what had happened is I cut the extensor tendon in my thumb. And a tendon is like a rubber band. So when you cut it, it retracts. So it was up here. So they had to do this surgery where they had to go in and grab it, pull it back out, stitch it together. And then they had to put my hand in a cast to keep me from being able to move it for a little while. And then I had to do like physical therapy with a racquetball for a long time. And I still don't have full, I can close this one all the way. I can't that one,
Yeah.
But they did this surgery.
You just froze.
With a gang sign.
Okay.
Good thing you're sitting down, Crystal. Anyway, So yeah, we, I got flown over to get surgery, and this is where things kind of get rough. And so before I go into the rest of this, I do want to say that if you're watching this, what you're about to hear is going to be pretty sensitive and shocking, and might affect you in a certain way, especially if you're a survivor as well. So please know, please know that there are people that love you and care about you and want you to know that there is help available. And if you're a veteran, I am happy to point you in that right direction. There are a lot of great resources at the VA. I don't care what you've heard, give them a chance. And then, if you're not a veteran, there are a plethora. There's more resources available to you.
Yeah.
So
thank you for the warning.
Yeah. So 18 years old, I'm getting surgery, and I'm waking up from surgery. My hand's in a cast. This one has an IV in it because I have really big veins in my hand. And so I'm kind of like crucified. I'm like sitting here with my arms out, and I'm being raped. I was being raped by the corpsman who was in charge of my care. So, there's a person wearing khakis that is either an officer or a chief, so way higher in command than me, that was taking advantage of an 18-year-old boy. I tried yelling for help, and eventually I was able to grab my IV pole, and with a surgical gown on that's wide open, I'm running down the side of the ship screaming for help. Shore Patrol shows up, and that's the Navy's military, or the Navy's police, the military police. And so they showed up. There was two guys. They took me into a room. They took my story, or they took my statement. And then they had to do a rape kit on me, which was, yeah, that's a lot to take in.
Right.
And so shortly after that, I was flown off the aircraft carrier to Yokosuka, Japan, because that was the closest naval port to us. They told me it was so that I could start my physical therapy for my hand. I had tried reporting this to my chain of command, the higher ups, multiple times. And then whenever I got shipped to Yokosuka, I tried to report it once, and I got shipped back to my home port of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, where I was immediately reduced a rank. I was knocked down a rank. My pay was cut in half, and I was put on 45 days of restrictive duty, where I was forced to go over to Fort Island, which is where the brig is, the military prison, to mop the floors for 45 days. And so I was being punished for telling, because in the 90s, they had this thing called Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and I had violated that.
Wow.
So 18 years old, almost 19 years old, had only been in the military for a year and a half at this point, and my entire world upside down.
Yeah, shattered.
So I kind of lost sense of self. I hated myself. I didn't want anything to do with myself. I fell into drugs really bad. And then at one point, soon after I had gotten off my 45 days restrictive duty, there was this woman that I had known for a long time. I had at one point in time in the Navy, I was dating another person that was on the ship with me. And it was her best friend. And the three of us had gone, when we were in Hawaii still, we had gone to, I think it was called Turtle Cove or Turtle Beach or something like that. It was Turtle something, but it was owned by the Air Force. It was an old hotel, and it was campgrounds that the military owned. And it was like $5 a night to stay there. So we had all gone out there to go camping, and we had gotten in a really bad car accident. We hit some water, slid, and in Hawaii, because there's, it's mountains, they have concrete walls on each side of the road. And we had slammed into the middle one a couple of times, and then shot straight across the road and hit the outside one. And it was right outside of this tunnel, kind of going towards Poly Lookout. And I was the only one that wasn't knocked unconscious. And I had managed to go around, open that door. I had to cut the seatbelt off of my girlfriend who was driving, carried her away from the car, and then went back to get the other girl who was slightly larger than even myself. And I picked her up and started carrying her away. And she came to, and her leg was broken in 9 places between her knee and her ankle. And I carried her away. And then I flagged down the next car, got an ambulance, went with them to the hospital. And it wasn't until like probably a good 24 hours later that they were finally like, we need to check you, because I started having whiplash symptoms. Like it hurt to sneeze. It felt like my chest was going to explode. Anyway, I had gotten a certificate of commendation for saving their lives. And so back to present time, I'm getting off this 45-day restrictive duty, and the woman that was in the back seat that I had just saved her life like months prior had tried to say that while she was on crutches, I had offered to go to get her groceries, and I never got her groceries. I took her grocery money. And that wasn't true. That had never happened. But they used that to try and offer me a general under honorable discharge to kick me out of the military. And it's not a dishonorable. It's not an other than honorable. It's a general under honorable, which is just under an honorable. But still, at that point, I was like, all of my faith is gone.
Right.
Like, if I can't trust, my safety and my life under the hands of a professional in the medical field. Right. And then here's this person who I just saved their life 3 months prior, and I got a medal for it, who is now saying that I stole money from her just because that was their way of trying to get me out. I'm done. And so I took the general under honorable.
I was say at that point, it'd be like, fuck it, bye.
So at that point, that's whenever I started to spiral and started falling into drugs. And before I was, I turned 19 shortly after that. Before I was 21, I tried to complete suicide twice. I ended up getting locked up in prison, which that's what saved my life, I think. I was doing drugs. And
downward spiral.
I think I kind of got to a point where I was like, well, I failed this twice. Let's just try to chemically take care of myself. Right. And I ended up getting locked up for it. So I did 3.5 years in the Oklahoma State Penitentiary system, and then got out, and knew that I didn't want to do anything like that again. And so I started trying to change my life then. Still young, struggling. I was homeless for a couple of years. Did a lot of couch surfing too. And then finally I had been messing with live music while I was in prison, ironically. I started with karaoke in the Navy, realized I didn't have to pay for drinks anymore as long as I had a microphone in my hand. And so that was cool. Right. So then out of the military, I started, whenever I was in prison, there was like this little prison band that would play during visitation hours. Like, hey, you want to come sing for us? Yeah,
I love that.
And you want to talk about a rock star? It's like, all right. It was a built-in audience, folks. It wasn't that hard to play.
Right.
So my hair had, at this point had started growing down to my waist. And then whenever I got out, I just kept pursuing that music career. And so I spent almost 27 years singing for rock bands, touring all over the US. I went from Texas to North Carolina, and then back to Reno, Nevada, singing for live bands, and then toured all over the United States with each of these bands. But I spent 20 years in Reno, and loved every minute of it. The band that I had there, absolutely incredible. In fact, we just released our last album. I just released it like a month ago.
Yeah.
So
I think I saw that he posted on his Facebook, and I was like, wait, you sing too? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's the new album. I literally just got a box of them. So anyway, music was kind of like my therapy. It was my way of saving $40 an hour on a shrink. It was like, I can write a song, right, about how I feel, put it out there and connect with somebody. And I don't even have to tell them who I am or what I've been through.
Right.
It's just you connect on a secular level. It's really crazy. And built up quite a big following that way of just amazing people, people that I think on my Facebook, there's like 4,900 people on my friends list. And I'm proud to say I know almost every single one of them, you know.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's not too many people on that I haven't physically met at one point in time or another. So I pride myself on that. But when COVID hit, live music took a dump really quick.
Yeah.
And so I have to stay busy. Other, you know, gears get to turning in the wrong direction if they don't. Right. So if I'm not moving forward on a constant trajectory, then I start stepping back. And then when I step back, that's whenever those negative thoughts hit.
Yeah.
You know, I still battle depression regularly. I'm going to back up a little bit. I started going to the VA hospital in 2014. That's the first time I ever said, I'm going to go in and ask for help. You know, my wife and I, she wasn't my wife at the time. She was my girlfriend, but we were driving down the freeway and we had gotten into a pretty big argument over something stupid. She said she wanted to go get her CCW, her private, you know,
concealed carry
license. And so I was like, well, that's great. I just did a commercial for somebody that, you know, runs a business like that, and they'll give you classes for free. And she's like, well, I want to go with my friends. And I'm like, but you're not even going to be in the same bay with them. Like, they have you separated.
Right.
But it was just, it was something stupid like that. It was like $75. And I'm like, you know, I'd worked in the rock radio business for over 20 years. And so I do a lot of commercials for people. And I was like, you know, you can get this for free. But it turned into this huge thing because something in my brain just switched and I started yelling and she started crying, and we're going down the freeway, probably going, you know, 75 miles an hour. And I opened the door. I was just going to get out. I was just going to get out of the car. I didn't want to be there. I wasn't trying to hurt myself.
Right.
I just knew that I did not want to be in that position. And the only way I could get out of it is if I left. Right. Yeah. Which is not a healthy way of thinking. And so, the last place I ever wanted to walk into and ask for help was a medical, you know, building that was run by people who were like the military. Right. But I choked everything up and I went and I asked for help. And this social worker named Heidi was extremely kind and patient. And eventually we got to the root of it, and she started connecting those dots where it was like, Shane, it's not your fault. You're angry because you're always blaming yourself. It's not your fault. Stop, you know? And while you start to connect those dots and realize that maybe it wasn't my fault, you still have moments, like even to date, where you feel like, well, maybe if I would have kept my mouth shut, I would have stayed in and had a full career. Or maybe if this would have happened, or if this would have happened. That's the way my brain is, you know?
The what ifs.
Same.
The ifs in life.
Yeah. Especially when, you know, whenever you got the military who's punishing you for saying something about it. Right. So in April of last year, I got a 6-page letter from the Navy apologizing, a full 6 pages of legal jargon. That there was one paragraph in there that I read very clearly, and it had said, you know, we see where you try to report it to several members of your chain of command. We also see where you reported it to, you know, the medical centers outside. There was never any follow-up. We saw where you reported it to a psychologist, but they never followed up. And, you know, in the, what was the words? It was something along the lines of, for the greater good or whatever. We're going to overturn the original decision of you being discharged with the general under honorable. And they upgraded it to an honorable, and they sent me an honorable discharge certificate, and I lost it. I lost it. The second I saw this, I just gave me, it's a unicorn, man. You can't have your discharge upgraded if it's been more than 15 years. And here it's been 27.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at work. At this point, I was working for the VA as a public affairs officer, and I had 3 of my staff, my fellow staff, sitting next to me, fellow employees. And I just started bawling. They didn't know why. Like, I'm holding my phone in my hand and I'm losing it, like deep sobs, like,
of course.
Of course. Yeah. And they all 3 came over and put their hands on me. Huh?
I said it was validation 27 years late.
Right. Yeah. They didn't know what was going on. They just see this grown man, like, with the at the time long old beard. And I'm like, they're like, what is going on?
And it's like, man, what did that letter say?
Right. Yeah. They're like, oh my God, did somebody die? You know, because that's where everybody's brain goes the minute you start crying. So they all came over, they put their hands on me and everything. And it was a very intimate moment with professionals that I had never realized that I had this kind of intimate connection with. And I just passed my phone to them. I couldn't even talk. And they read it. And one of them had taken it. One of my best friends, Ryan, and he had taken it and he read it out loud. And the other two just started clapping and cheering. And they were just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So that's the good news that came out of that.
Well, did they know your story as well up until that point?
At that point, they did. Yeah. Yeah. Because I had started public speaking about what is now known as military sexual trauma. I had started doing public speaking engagements about it. And, you know, the director of the VA Medical Center at the time, Lisa, has always been an amazingly beautiful and compassionate person. And she always went to my public speaking engagements just to be there to support me. And she'd sit in the front row. It was just amazing. She would sit right next to my wife, you know, and I had my kids come because I wanted my kids to understand that it's okay. If something happens, you need to talk about it. It's okay.
Right. Yeah.
And so every time I did one of these speaking engagements, there would be a line of people that would come up to me afterwards, standing ovation, people confiding in me that something like that had happened to them.
Right.
And then I did one of these speaking engagements at the University of Nevada in Reno, and it was in the Joe Crowley movie theater there on campus. And it was a veteran event, and everybody was invited to watch this movie called The Invisible War, which I believe is free on Amazon Prime. If you ever want to watch it. It'll open your mind. It's all about military sexual trauma. And I was asked to speak on a panel after the movie was done. And I'd never spoken about this out loud, except for maybe a couple of people at this point.
Yeah.
And one of those people had asked me, would you be brave enough to speak on this panel? Because we don't have any men. Like there's 4 women. Yeah. We need a man.
Right.
And so I said, I'll do it. And so I sat up there and I told my story and I was bawling. And then the room was full of all these professional people that I had worked with for years that never knew that about me.
Wow.
People from the congressman's office, people from the attorney general's office, all these like way high up people in the political world that I worked with on a regular basis that knew me as Sane Whitecloud. They're sitting in the crowd and they start standing up and passing a microphone around. And a couple of them had actually shared that something similar had happened to them. Wow. And then this guy in the back of the room, right, stands up and he takes the microphone and he looks like he's homeless. And turns out he was. He takes the microphone and he said, that happened to me in the 70s. And he's just tears flowing down his face. Mm-hmm. And he said, can I please come up on the stage and give you a hug? There was not a dry eye.
Right. I'm trying to now.
Right. And so I started seeing the healing power and opening that door, right? Gradually. Yeah. There was another time where I did a speaking event at the Truckee Meadows Community College for what we call the Spartan Pledge, where we take an oath against veteran suicide. And they asked me to tell my story. And I did. And then we all took the oath and we went home. And the next day, there was a message sitting in my other folder in Facebook, the one you never think to look at.
Right.
I went in there and it was this message from this woman. I won't divulge her name or anything out of, her privacy.
Right.
This woman wrote me a message and she said, I've never been known to skip classes before, but something told me I needed to go to this event. And she said, I heard your story. And she said, I just want you to know that when you were done telling that story after the event was over, I went home and disposed of the drugs that I was going to use to kill myself with.
Wow.
And then she said, I'm going to go. I know. I'm crying right now. And so I told her, and she told me, she said, I'm going to go to the VA and give them a chance. I want help. And so I called her immediately. I was like, let me know. I'll walk with you. I'll go in the hospital with you. Like I will, you can't turn your back on them. You can't, And so those are the moments that I live for. So now fast forward to COVID, don't have a singing career anymore.
Yeah.
And I need to find something to do. And so I started throwing things up on the Facebook like, hey, does anybody have a laser I can play with? Because I'm kind of curious about them and I want to know what it's like. And at the time, I had like 9 3D printers going, and it was just stupid. It was like anything. The more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. So I taught myself how to do 3D printing and 3D CAD. And then I was like, I can make face shields for the VA because we have a supply chain issue and they need ear savers and face shields. And so doing all of that. And then all of a sudden,
those ear savers.
yeah. And then I was like, what else can I do? And so I had thrown up on the Facebook that does anybody got a laser I can play with? And this guy who's actually a good friend of mine, who's also a veteran, was like, my mom's got one, but she only uses it as an epoxy table right now. You're welcome to have it. And this like 60-watt black and red Omtech laser shows up full size. The laser tube's in pristine condition. The bed looks like it's hardly ever been used. There's no scorch marks on it. And it's covered in epoxy, like dried epoxy. It was like bad looking. So I took a heat gun and a scraper and I was like cleaning it up. And then I started learning. I was like going on the YouTubes and all the Facebook groups. I was joining it all and I would ask questions. And then, sometimes you run into those people that are like, oh, well, you shouldn't probably do this then. You should probably do something else. But then every now and then you get that gem. You get that one person that's like, hey, FaceTime me. I'll help you. We'll figure this out together. And
the people like that literally make the difference in you continuing on or quitting.
Absolutely.
It was those people, especially when I was new. So I didn't know anybody with a laser, which honestly is unlike me. Like I kind of need someone who has done it like close to me or that I kind of know to like give me that confidence to like even give it a try. And literally the only people I had was the Facebook groups at the time. And because it was just Glowforge for me. And so I didn't know really about other laser brands or anything like that. And there wasn't a lot of material on YouTube about the Glowforge or anything like that either.
Right.
And so if it wasn't for the groups and those people who helped me in that moment, and one of them was Mark with Big Blue Lasers, I was in his inbox all the time saying, why the hell can I not understand Kerf? And, it was those people that had that patience to help me when I literally felt like I had nobody else, that kept me going in those moments. So it's huge.
Absolutely. And it was those people, like you said, that made me not give up. Like I started learning these things. I was like doing photographs on wood, and I did a photograph in acrylic and sent it to that woman who was the director of the VA hospital that would come and sit in the front row every time I did a speaking engagement. I just found out that I got so much joy out of making things and giving them to people. Honestly, it wasn't a very lucrative thing because I was just making things to give it. I spent more money on supplies than I probably ever would have spent on a laser. It's stupid. Because I'm like, oh, what else can I do? And I guarantee you
all the things.
I have a lot of crap around here that I've never even touched, but I'm like walking through the hobby store going, I think I need that. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to use it for something. I know I am.
Always.
So it gets crazy. But I found I had a knack for this stuff. And so I just kept doing it. I got into screen printing. I got into embroidery, got a 20 needle embroidery machine and started making hats and stuff. And,
nice.
And then I moved here. I moved to Houston from Reno. And whenever I did that, I called Jamie over at Eon and I was like, hey, you know how you guys like every now and then you'll pop in my inbox and go, hey, you should try out one of our machines. I was like, yeah, it's $12,000. Who can afford that? But then I was like, you know what? I think I can afford that now, and so I did it. I took some of the money out of the sale of my house and I bought the Mira 9.
That's how I bought my Glowforge.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I got a 50-watt fiber laser that's sitting over here too. And
I'm jealous.
I started engraving all these things. Like I was just trying everything. And I even did, I'm not going to take it out now, but I have an AR sitting down here that I started doing like a Skulls and Roses theme on, thanks to Frag Out. And I just, I love making things. It's incredible. I mean, I have a 25 cup order right now, and they're all Yetis. The lady sent the Yetis to me and paid me almost $500 to engrave them all for her.
That's
with
awesome.
her company logo. That's how much you can make off of one order with these things, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up going to that conference to try and find my mission, right? So like, I'm so fragmented. I'm like, I want to do all these things,
right? All the things,
these things aren't paying for it. I need to figure out what my niche is going to be. Like you guys, you know, you kind of have your niche, and you know, Emily's got hers, and Heather's got hers, and so I'm like, what am I going to do? And Will had invited me, Will Louie, and I said, well, I'm gonna take you up on that invitation, and I went, and I was sitting in, I think, the photo class or something, and it just hit me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm a veteran, and I'm like, when a veteran dies or a first responder dies, they're presented with a triangular flag at their funeral, right? It's given to their family. Yeah. And that flag goes into a flag case that people usually spend hundreds of dollars on.
Right.
And I'm like, what if I offer to engrave the flag case? What if I offer to engrave the glass of the flag case with the seal of their branch or their service, their names, the year of birth and death, you know? And and so I created and released a week and a half ago the Unsung Hero Project. It's at projectunsunghero.com. And it literally is, I'm just going to engrave the glass of your flag case. And I'm, you know, offering an option where I'll engrave a triangular piece of glass that'll fit your flag case and ship that to you so that you can replace the one that's in there. And if you don't want to spend that much on glass, then I can ship you a sheet of cast acrylic, right? Yeah. And ship that to you. And I found out that that's kind of like my thing, you know? I feel like I'm still giving back to that veteran and first responder community. I'm honoring the brothers and sisters that we've lost.
I might need one of those from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandfather was in the Air Force.
And see, that's the thing I'm talking about. That's something that we all have in common. Somebody, all of our families has served. Yeah. And I'm now working with my brother-in-law who's down the street. We were like, why does it cost $100 for a flag case? Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Right. And so I said, well, why don't we just make them? And so we started pulling up the plans, and now we're looking into the idea of making them. And then once we have that solidified, we'll offer that up on the website as well. Yeah. You know, because I want to keep it as low budget as possible to help those who are, because here's the thing. When your grandfather passed away, it was either your grandmother or somebody that he was related to that was offered that flag.
My mother.
Your mother. Okay. Yeah. So does your mother have any sisters or brothers?
Yes.
So
one sister.
They're all going, well, how come she gets the flag? How come I don't get a flag? Right. That happens every single time.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
So now if I make this affordable for people and I put it up there, now there's your mom's sisters and brothers can get a flag case and put a flag in it in honor of your grandfather. And so I just wanted to make this as something that was available to everybody, right? It's not just one person that's receiving it anymore. Everybody can cherish that memory and have that on their mantle or wherever. So, so that's kind of where I'm at, man. I'm mostly engraving cups, watch bands, and now the glass of the flag cases. But I love it. You know, I love the community.
Yeah, the community is honestly the best. It's I was surprised again coming into it literally completely alone, and now it's literally the people that I speak to on a daily basis, hourly basis. It's not daily, it's hourly. Like we have a conference chat that we're always talking on. You know, I talked to Emily, you know, I obviously help Emily moderate her group. I help several other people moderate their groups. You know, I have several groups with Heather. I have my own groups. But, you know, the people I talk to daily, they're all my laser friends and family. And when something happens, you know, my laser friends and family are the ones who are there the fastest. You know what I mean? Not that it's like a competition or anything, but you know, they're there. And like, you know, there's just been so many times lately that like, you know, Amanda was having a hard time because you know, her shop flooded a little bit, and so you know, we all rallied together and we sent her some money that she didn't ask for, just because we're like, you know, if this will help you.
Right.
Hell, when we had the flood almost 3 years ago, you know, people did the same thing for us. People were random, you know, I was getting random Venmo, you know, here, buy dinner, buy, because our roof was leaking and we had to go stay in a hotel because we also lost power, and it was a whole thing. And then Will, you know, recently with what he's had going on, you know, we all sent you know, DoorDash, and then also donated to the charity that he was accepting for. And there's been so many situations and so many like hard times, and they're the ones who are there for you, you know, just and laser related or not. And this was not something I ever expected to have. And now, you know, as you were saying before, especially during COVID, there was a lot of people who had been in like the laser game for a while, and there's a lot of people who got lasers because of COVID. And I had gotten mine, you know, just like before, maybe like a year or so before. And so there was a lot of people who weren't so keen to all these like new board people, and they would not be so pleasant sometimes, or would get really frustrated by newbie questions as if they were never a newbie. But now I can say, at least the groups that I frequent, it's the complete opposite now. You know, there'll be 8 answers of people who are more than willing, you know, to help you and to guide you and to spend that extra time with you. And then there might be that one person out of like 20, 30, 40, 50, you know, that might have some kind of snide comment. Maybe they're having a rough day, you know, maybe they didn't make that 50 cup sale that they were hoping, or, you know, whatever, you know. But for the most part, there's the community I hope has made a shift into where it's just mostly helpful people. And like you said, the people who are willing to FaceTime you, I've made tutorials that are specifically for that person, you know, spent the time to record it, but then also edit it and put it out, because I know that if that person has that question, there's probably several other people who have that same question who are nervous to get into my inbox and ask me that question. But yeah, it just, I love that is there.
Well, in some ways, the community birthed this podcast.
Oh, totally.
You know, it's like, is there another pod? You know, we were at the time, I was like, is there any podcast that like talks about laser stuff and like talks to people like within?
Yeah, there's YouTube channels and stuff, but not
like this. So we kind of entered it in kind of in that same, you know, wanting to help, wanting to tell people stories so that others, either whether you're beginning or you're not, you see like, oh, you know what, I'm not alone in my garage or my spare bedroom. You know, doing this. Like everyone else is going through the same growing pains.
You're not alone. One, you have somewhere to celebrate your wins with people who understand. And then 2, I've seen so many posts lately where people, they're struggling. They're not finding their niche. They're not finding, you know, that way, and they're ready to like just give up and throw it all away. And I'm always so proud of our community when you go to the comments and there's so many people saying, no, don't give up. Don't, you know, what can we help? What do you need? What direction do you need? You know, my inbox is always open. You know, I'll show you Lightburn, or I'll show you Silhouette, or I'll show you this or whatever. And I mean, Heather and I have both, you know, gifted our courses to there was a lady that Heather, I think recently, I don't know if she actually got a hold of that person, but I think they had just lost their husband and they were trying to make this work without, you know, throwing it all away and just going back to work, because that's the easiest thing to do, because now you lost, you know, a whole income in your family. And I'm pretty sure she gifted her course to her. It was like, here, like, let me help you how I can, what I have. And yeah, it really helps a lot.
One of my favorite things was one of the phrases you hear the most whenever you're first starting out and you end up going onto the laser forums is, well, there's a search bar on the forum, just use that, and you're like, that's like the most commonly said thing. And I remember I had just joined that Mom with the Laser group.
Yeah.
And this is probably 2.5 years ago. And I remember asking a question in there, and I immediately got like jumped on, but because it was like, well, this group is called that Mom with a Laser, and this, and like, I was like immediately shamed. And I remember Emily specifically jumped in and said, I will not tolerate that type of thing in this group. No. This group's about helping people. And that shut it down like that. And I love that woman before I even met her. It was like, whenever I finally met her at the conference, I was like, Emily, Sane Whitecloud. She's like, oh my God, give me a hug. And I was like, yes, I love you. No disrespect to your husband, but I love you.
Right.
Yeah.
But she started that group because a lot of the older male-based groups, so she, in the Glowforge groups, it wasn't so much of an issue, I think, as much because a lot of the owners were female. It was more common for a female to buy the Glowforge just because, it felt more comfortable. It was a hobby laser. It was less technical, mechanical stuff, which a lot of, females, may tend to struggle. At least personally, I do. And so when she got, an industrial laser basically, and in that side, that was, predominantly men based, especially at that time. And so she'd ask me questions, and I'm like, what is a gantry? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Emily. Like, right. I can't help you. I don't have to align any mirrors. I don't know what you're. And so, there's only so much that she could ask, us Glowforge owners at the time, and she'd ask the groups. And, there would be a lot of like condescending comments, and, she's making, she's a teacher. She's a mom. She likes girly things. She's posting her teacher projects and her rainbows, and like they weren't having any of her teachers and her rainbows and her fluffy, and her super like bubbly, energetic, personality. And so she started that group initially. I mean, it was only for women in the beginning because, that was like the safe place that you could go ask a question without fear of, being those attacked. Right. Or being condescending. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so when we did it, and then we started running into the problem of like where we wanted like awesome men in the group, like Will, yourself, Mark, I think Mark and Will, and I don't know who else, but there was a few that like we let in for like the exception to the rule men.
Yeah.
And then, we started letting others in, and now it's a more round, like, I guess, community, but initially that's why we started it. And so especially in that group, we would not, the culture she created, there's no way we would allow that, even if, it is that mom. It's not only for moms with lasers.
Yeah.
It's for anybody. That's just the name of her business. It's for anybody with lasers who isn't an asshole.
Yeah, she's referring to herself as that mom, and that's what's great about it. And her I want to say her educational content, but her YouTube videos are extremely detailed. Like I made my very first round sign while with her, on her YouTube video.
Right.
And so, and that's hanging in the other room right now. Cause I had made that for our travel trailer, and it says, this is my new summer home or whatever, established, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so, the one thing that I love the most about this community is the passion, right? The passion and compassion, because, whenever I first started getting into the laser stuff, and I first heard about like the pie burn, good example. Stan and Lynn are absolutely beautiful guys. They're hands down beautiful guys, just loving and incredible guys.
Yes.
And I remember Kathy Ray, never met this woman. This woman named Kathy Ray pops up and says, if, because I had posted up, hey, is there like a veteran discount? That's, I was curious, but it was, those rotaries can get pretty pricey. And so
apparently depending on when
goes,
you bought it.
Yeah.
Because Len was selling them for dirt cheap at first.
Right?
yeah.
Len.
But Kathy Ray had popped up and said, I'm willing to donate $100 towards a rotary for this guy, Shane.
I love
and
Kathy.
we had never known. I never knew this woman. And so then Vito, who's another guy who's pretty well known as far as in the rotary community, he pops in and goes, well, I'll donate $100 too. And then Stan pops in and goes, well, I'll match both of yours. And so here I am. I'm like, I'm getting a pretty decent rotary for half off.
Right. Yeah.
And I got it. And the very first project that I used that rotary for immediately after I unboxed it was for 350 stemless wine glasses for a nonprofit that was doing their 10th anniversary gala. And this nonprofit houses homeless children. And so this was like my way of giving back. And they paid me $2,000 to do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that, I mean, that paid for the rotary and then some.
Right.
And then I ended up winning that new Pyburn 4 from the conference. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, and by the way, just so you're Stan, Lynn, just so you guys know, there you go. There it is right there. That's it right there. I'm using it.
I was hoping you'd find an excuse to turn that camera on.
yeah, I'm using it. I'm doing these this lady wanted these Yeti cups engraved for her business, and she shipped them all to me, and I was like, yay. But the great thing is that I can show up at a conference for the first time and meet all of these people that I have gotten to know over the past 2 years, and we're like family. You know, I've never physically met you, but I walk up and I give you a hug. I've never met you, but you had a camera, and I'm like, my brother, you know? And then Emily ran up and gave me a hug. Kathy Ray was at the event. She came up and hugged me. And it's like, man, and then we all go out to dinner together. I mean, dude, if you have ever get the chance to go to one of these laser conferences, people go. I mean, it's an amazing, eye-opening family experience.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, there's one, the Cindy that I talk about all the time. I always forget that I'm so close with her. You know, me, Heather, you know, MJ, whatever. I'm so close with Cindy that I forget that I haven't met her in person because she's just become like she's my people now. Like, you know, we check in on each other when shit is not pretty. And, you know, she's one of those people that sent me random Venmo deposits on a really bad day or a really bad week or, you know, for my birthday or, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, it's just, yeah.
And it branches out. I mean, we have a laser husband crew.
Yeah.
You know, between Tom, Bud.
Yeah. I think Greg, that's gonna grow. You guys, if someone takes the reins on that, there's gonna be a big laser husband crew.
Yeah.
Hey, count me in. I'm in. I'm 100%. I'm a laser husband. Let's go.
I love it.
It'd be an honor to have you on,
right?
As a laser
husband. I'm in. Hell yeah. Yeah, I know. I started doing this thing with David and Anka too, the Creative Connection, and it's just you know, I mean, it's. You know, who are you? What are you doing? Why do you do it? You know,
right? Yeah.
So but that's like I met them at the conference, right? So it's all these beautiful things. I had actually originally met them through Jamie because she started doing like this Eon Partners book club.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they were in that. And that's the first time I ever met them. But it branched out from there to where I physically met them at the conference, and then boom. You know, so it's just such a beautiful group of people to be able to share something like this with, you know, and I would highly encourage anybody out there who is a first time laser owner, you know, don't give up just because it gets hard. Turn around and ask somebody like this for help. Trust me, they're willing to, they won't do the jobs for you. Let's make that very clear.
Right.
All right. Because if they do the jobs for you, then they deserve to get the money. But they will show you how to, like, you know, if you can't figure out how to get the warp right on your tumbler because it's tapered, they'll show you what to do. You know, I mean, trust me, you know, you don't want to pass up on this kind of information. It's incredible.
And that's another thing too, because every time you kind of, when you mix money into the aspect, because everyone is running a business, whether no matter what the size, small business, bigger business, everyone's running the business. So you think like, man, they're not going to help me. They're too big. They're not going to give away their secrets. And there are no secrets.
No, not really.
It's amazing how like money doesn't really come into play.
Because the ones of us, as I don't know why I can't say this, but those of us who we know that there's enough to go around.
Right.
Your market is not my market. Typically, your customer is not my customer.
Right.
Me helping you with this order is not going to hinder my business at all.
Right.
And especially if you have a laser business, it's only going to help your laser, like if you sell to laser owners like mine. So like perfect example, I had a customer, she had reached out to me. She needed to do a large order of keychain thingies. I think she had a market or something coming up, or I had a big order, and she needed keychain thingies. And she was like, can you get them to me in a certain amount of time? And I'm like, of course. I'm telling her, how long I think it's going to take. Here's ways that you can make it a little bit faster. Here's what I think they're going to get there. You should be good. And got them out, as soon as possible. And then afterwards, she messaged me and she's like, oh, I love the thingies and, they did great and they sold well. And then she had a question on altering her file to make it so that the keychain thingies would work on a file that she purchased, because it is a larger hole than you need for like a jump ring. So there is a lot of, you need to know how to alter your file. And so, through PM, I'm helping her, telling, nudge this hole a little bit more. Oh, it looks like you need to actually, you need to nudge both of the hole and the offset at the same time. Yeah. And so, she did it and I was like, oh, let's make a little adjustment because now it's not centered. And I was like, undo. And so, it didn't take that long. It was, I don't know, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes. And, then she went and posted in my group and gave me like a huge shout out about, my customer service of, the thingies, and then helping her in silhouette, and doing that and genuinely helping people without any expectation of something back. I do that in hopes that it'll come back to me in other ways.
Somehow,
in the karma, yes, you want to order from my site and you get something out of it as well. And, Tony, when he came and I cut something for him the other day, he wanted to pay me. And I'm like, no, bro, like you don't have to pay. Like you actually made it so I turned on my laser for the first time in 3 weeks. Like, no, you don't. You don't have to pay me anything. Like it's good, and it was time catching up, with a laser friend. It wasn't, I was helping him and he was then helping his boss. And, like I didn't expect, any payment. And he, again, gave all of us a big shout out because, Amanda helped him get the oversized acrylic and all that stuff. But, it's just, we do it because we want to help and because someone did it for us as well. What kind of hypocrite would we be if we're gatekeeping or not helping or not doing what we can to give back when that's what got us to where we are, so.
Yeah. But I will throw the disclaimer in there that if you're, all of our local markets are different, right? Which is why we can thrive, but the online market, if you're going to use like one of Crystal's designs, give Crystal credit for that. Like, don't just say, oh, this is my design, I made this, because that's not true. And people do that. They'll take your design, they'll alter it a little bit. And I've even had like somebody take one of my designs and then they tried to sell it as their own. And then the person that they sold it to came to me and asked me if I would fix it. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you that design again half off, but mine works because it's like legit. So, for anybody that's out there that's buying these designs off of Etsy and all that stuff, you might see a really cool deal on Etsy where it's like bundle package for $9.99, and it's like all these watch bands that somebody like Crystal's selling for $120.
Right.
Don't do that. That's just horrible. You don't know what you're getting for one. Because Crystal spent the time to go through each and every node to make sure that this is perfectly for you. I know how she is. And so somebody like this, they have a copy, and that copy will not cut the same way. And so you're going to end up wasting material, money, and everything else on top of it. So
and they don't have the customer service side of it. They're not going to, those same people who took someone else's file as, too much inspiration or is legit just reselling it. They're not going to spend for half the price. They're not going to spend the time and walk you through how to do that. Or if you're running into an issue that a lot of times it's user error and they still won't help you with that. But us as file sellers who understand that we all have those moments, we will help you through that.
Well, it's also because they're not genuine files.
Exactly. No, they're just they're thieves.
They don't know.
Scammers,
Well, they don't. Even if they wanted to, they probably couldn't even answer your question because they didn't create the file. They just altered it.
Yeah.
So I can tell you how I altered it and I can tell you how to get it back.
Yeah.
But I can't help you with anything else because I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Where you actually from the ground up created it.
Right.
And every like he said, every no. So you're like, okay, well, here, hold on. I can't tell you, but here you go. It's fixed.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Some words of wisdom in there. Definitely respect the creators.
Yeah. And I mean, I say in like my little descriptions, like I don't expect a shout out. I know that, I mean, a lot of times the people that are purchasing that don't understand that, like the side of that you purchased a file, but you made it, or you maybe added something to it. Like, the non-laser world, if you haven't like had a silhouette or a cricket or anything like that, you may not understand that that's even a thing. Honestly, when I started making shirts, I made all my own designs because I didn't know it was the thing that I could go buy them and they were already done. So, I understand that it doesn't work all the time for the shout outs, but 100%, I every single time that I'm tagged on Instagram for one of my files or the keychain thingies or anything like that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It makes my day. It's awesome to get the shout out and the praise. And especially, if it's doing well for you, I love to hear that because that means that like my job is done. And that however long it took me to get that file completed was worth it because now, it's doing something for someone else. So yeah.
Compliments are the gift that keep on giving, for sure.
Exactly. And I mean, we I guess the laser celebrities that we've been titled, we still have tough days too. I mean, I have imposter syndrome like no one's business, and I have to fight that shit on a daily basis. I almost didn't start the course because I didn't think I knew enough to teach somebody else something. And at the conference, the anxiety I had was through the roof until people, were having those mind blown moments. And I was like, wait, I can create those moments, So we're human too. And we have really hard days where, maybe sales are down sales are down for
everybody. So
many people right now, especially file creators, even the big ones, you'd be surprised. And shout outs can do a lot because you never know what those people are going through, and just a little tiny ounce of appreciation goes a long way. Something I heard the other day that I forget who shared it. It might have been Will. He shares a lot of that stuff, but shifting, or maybe even MJ. It was shifting your wording from, when someone says, "Oh, thank you," whatever, and I appreciate it, to I appreciate you.
Right.
And it's you don't appreciate it, you're appreciating them and what they did for you, and that just means so much more. And just showing that to whoever it is that took that 5-10 minutes out of their day,
Absolutely. And it's a lot shorter to just say I love you. There you go.
That works too. Yeah.
Less syllables.
I mean, if I just met you 5 minutes ago in my DMs, I don't know. I appreciate you first.
The L word is kind of strong.
Like, go ahead and I might not block you, but I might mute you. I'm just kidding.
Husband Laser Club, let's go.
Right.
So Shane, where can people find you if they're looking for
So I just launched projectunsunghero.com. I have teamvalormerchandising.com. That focuses more on like the branded merchandise stuff, like pins and post-it notes and all that kind of fun stuff. My email is shane@team-valor.com. You're always welcome to write me and ask me any questions, or, to even send me notes of love. And then, just go to a laser conference. You'll probably bump into me because I got to catch up with all my friends. Right.
Right. And I'm like, I'm pretty much, whether I'm invited or speaking or teaching, I'm going.
We're crashing.
So,
yeah. And I'm on all the socials too. So like every social media website, usually it's either as Sane Whitecloud, all one word, or Team Valor LLC, all one word, or both. So definitely reach out.
Yeah. When we get off, send us all of that. And then, in the messenger or whatever, but then also give me your album information as well. We'll put all of that in the show notes and stuff, so that if they want to check you out.
Where can people buy the album?
So Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, all the merchandising. So just look for Seasons of Insanity. The album's called Unsung. It's my last full album with a band that I created almost 14 years ago. And right before I moved to Houston. So now that I'm in Houston, I don't know anybody. So there's that. But it's my pride and joy, because a lot of those songs I wrote over the past 10 years, and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely rock. Kind of has like a Southern rock feel on some, but on some it's a little heavier. Anka says that she was headbanging to the whole thing all the way back from the conference. It was great. I can just imagine this little German chick going.
I love it.
Anka, if you're watching, I love you. So all those. I do have a few physical copies left. If you're interested in that, you can go to my Etsy page, because I threw them up on the Etsy as well. So
cool.
Feel free to grab them from there.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing such a personal story on the podcast. I have a ton of respect and admiration for those who served, because at 17, when the recruiters came, I said no, just because of how my family felt and everything. I wanted to, but I just followed suit with what my parents said at the time, and I checked no. Right. So there are times that I regret that. But I have a lot of respect and admiration. And then after sharing your story and everything you still continue to do for the VA with the experience you have, you have so much more respect and admiration for myself.
Yes.
Thank you. Well,
thank you for your service.
Don't ever knock yourself for not joining, man, because I promise you, if we didn't have the support system that's in place by those who didn't serve, we wouldn't have been able to. So, we wouldn't have had people to come home to. So there's that.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. And for those of you sticking around, our live update is coming up.
All right.
And we're back. Wow.
Holy crap.
That was
a whole lot.
Yes. Shane is an amazing person.
Yeah.
Like I already, like how I thanked him. He's amazing. He's great. So personable. But after hearing his story, wow.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to go to Houston and give him a hug.
Right? Yeah. Same.
Wow.
Yeah.
All of it.
Man, I feel like
such a story.
There's so many words and no words all at the same time.
So when you're thinking you're having a bad day,
right?
a bad time.
Yeah.
Just think of Shane.
Yeah.
And how he just pushed through everything, all the adversity he faced.
Right.
And where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. It was great. Yeah, it was great having him.
When I said we talked at the conference and I was like, "Oh, I love your story." I didn't that first part.
No, we didn't know any of that. No.
He when we talked, he picked up at the live music. He left all that behind, and he just told me how he was live music. Right. And
he was a veteran.
Yeah, a veteran, and then he got into live music. Mm-hmm. And then COVID happened and he got into lasers. I'm like, that's great. Would you like to be on the podcast?
Yeah.
It'd be great to have you. It's a great story. And then he drops all that
story you were signing up for.
Yeah. It was, That was
good for him.
Yeah.
really fucking good for him.
Yeah. Love him
and
more.
he's just now he turned it into helping so many other people,
Right.
and that's just
right. And I mean, he spoke to it like, going to the VA to ask for help,
right.
putting yourself in a situation that caused
puts you
the
there.
drama.
Yeah. Right.
Like the trauma, not drama,
right.
the trauma. Like you're going back like that.
Right.
I can't even imagine. Like, and I didn't want to ask him how he felt during that, but like. Like how do you come to that? Yeah, it's just great. And then all the help he continues, I mean, not that he's helping people, but just the fact that now he's like back in, in the service, on the VA side, and still it's just amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
I know. How do you follow that up?
I mean, you don't. I mean, the only thing we got is that hopefully our next episode
we're gonna have a special guest.
Yeah, we're gonna have a special guest who's gonna help us. Talk about all the behind the scenes stuff that we've been working on.
Yeah.
So hopefully next week we'll be able to sit down with them. And
Alex with Laser Everything, he was asking me for another synopsis about the last episode, because they which thank you, Alex, if you're watching this, they've been doing like he does like news. Laser news, and like if we have a new episode coming out, he'll mention the episode and like ask for like a little blurb about what was talked about or whatever. Right. And
wait till you get this blurb.
Right. And where the fuck was I going with that? Oh, he had listened to a few minutes of the last episode where we kind of were like, oh, we can't talk about it, whatever. And he was like, what's it? Like the eyeball emojis, and I was like, wouldn't you like to know? I'm just kidding. I told him. But yeah. So anyway, I appreciate that, Alex.
But that's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll have hopefully we'll have a really awesome guest who will help us tell everybody what we've been working on.
Episode 115.
Oh, nice even number. Right. My OCD likes that.
I don't know. It's not even.
It's
mid.
Yeah, it's like it's so like 1, 5, 10, like
The 5 is an odd number.
No, still. But 5 is the exception.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So anyway. Episode 115 hopefully is our big announcements. Yeah. And she's not pregnant. Promise you, she's not pregnant.
No.
I say promise. I hope
it's a food baby. If you've been wondering, food and stress.
Yeah, it's not pregnancy. It's not pregnancy. Not pregnancy at all.
Sure isn't.
Yeah. No. Well, it's hard to give a life update because we recorded this literally the day after we recorded 113. Yeah. So it's
tired. Tired.
Yeah. So there's not much life update. Huh?
Why are we tired?
Well, JR woke up and he threw up what, three times?
Yeah, at least
3 times. He threw up 3 times last night.
Yeah.
But to his credit, I mean, listen, he's getting a pro at this.
Man,
he came out first.
Yeah.
And he had this face. It wasn't like a bad dream or anything. I'm like, no. I'm like, what happened? Did you throw up? And he said, yeah. I'm like, and I'm expecting to walk into like a mess in his room.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay. Well, just go to the bathroom, and if you have to do it again, go ahead, but go to the bathroom and I'll go and I get in his room, turn on his light, and then I hear him throwing up in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, you're 2 messes. Right. So I go to comfort him.
When, mind you, 2 weeks ago, we just went through that with Jackson.
With Jackson, right. And that was a huge mess. Yeah. So I go to comfort him because he gets I don't know, like embarrassed. What? Or he thinks he's gonna get in trouble.
Oh, no, yeah. The last time it happened, he was like, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
so
no.
So I went in there to comfort him because I went in there to comfort him and this and that, expecting to like walk into another mess, but it was all in the sink. He threw up in the sink. He didn't get any like on. There was a little bit on his hand, but nothing crazy. Right. And I was telling him, don't worry.
Listen, throwing up sucks. Right. Like I have not thrown up much in my life at all, and the few times I have, like I threw up once, like from a hangover once. There was twice, but the other time I was still drunk. Our wedding. Yes, you did. The day of.
And the day of. Yeah. The day before and the day of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the night before when we were on our way back home. I threw up.
Oh yeah.
Because
see, those are a little bit easier because those, I mean, for me, I was drunk, so it didn't really bother me too much.
Okay.
But like the next day, it was like, okay, I felt like I was possessed by a demon, and like because you're just the motions of your body that you cannot control. I am so sorry for everyone listening. But
so I went in his room and it was like
him
it was nothing though.
Yeah,
in the room it seemed like he burped a little bit and something came up and then he got scared.
Right.
I think is what happened. And then when it really came up, it was in the bathroom, and then went to bed. Changed all his bedding and everything. Went to bed, and he came out
30
again.
30 minutes later, an hour later,
Yeah, and it's funny because that time was funny because that time he comes out. I'm like, oh, did you throw up again?
Funny for who? Because then it was my turn
for
again.
me and
I had
him.
PTSD.
For me and him, because we kind of laughed about it back in the bathroom. But he comes out, he sits on the couch. I'm like, oh, did you? And I'm still like kind of like cleaning things, I think, or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, did it happen again? And he goes, no. And then wow, right there.
I was like, no. Yeah. And I'm flinching because I was just
So there was that mess. There was one mess.
Yeah.
And then the third. There was a third time, right?
Yeah. No, he came out
in
again.
Bed. Yeah, in bed. He didn't throw up again outside. He threw up a little bit in bed again. And not outside, and then I gave him. I remember,
and of course, that's the time that we run out of
bedding
pods.
Oh, no, right.
We
pods for.
Yeah,
I go in to search for the pod, and there's no pods to do laundry.
Wah, wah.
Yeah,
of course, that would be the day
I bought some today,
run out. But
So
and then he woke
happened.
up like a new man, like nothing even happened.
Yeah,
and we're sitting here exhausted.
And then he was afraid to go back to sleep because he didn't want to throw up again, and that whole ordeal.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
But yeah, so that's it. We got new glasses coming.
Yeah.
I'm tired. And so we were supposed to record with Shane last night, and he had a long week, and so he, it slipped his mind, so we recorded tonight.
So
I was like, and I was tired. I tried to take a nap with Jackson, so I tried to put Jackson down for nap. He absolutely refused it.
If we would have done this podcast yesterday, that story would have woke you right up.
Oh yeah.
That story would have woke you right up.
Yeah. So, it's late at night, and I didn't have my contacts in. I didn't want to put them in for an hour show and then take them back out. So these are the glasses, but we went and got new glasses yesterday. Yeah. So those will be fun. Yeah. You'll see some new glasses on him and me on lazy days.
It'll be similar to these.
Maybe. It's
similar to these. They feel a lot better than these. These are kind of small on my big ass head.
We were both trying on glasses, and we both kind of like some similar ones. And he would hand me ones, and he was like, "These feel great." And I put them on my head, and they were like
falling off.
Yeah.
I have a big head.
Yeah, I know. You gave it to both of my kids.
Yeah.
And I had to birth them.
Yeah. They anyway, have this big ass head though.
No, not yet, but it was bigger. All right. That's a good point to.
Yep. Vaginal birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
Vomit and vaginal birth. Thanks for following us, guys.
Hand in hand. Well, thank you. Thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah. Hey, we only have 90 left. We had 911 and someone left us. So now we got 910.
Yeah. So 90 left, and then 3,000.
2,900
watch hours.
Yes.
Left.
We got this.
We'll make it.
It's gonna happen. Damn it.
Yeah. So we're throw a big party when it happens.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. I mean, this episode might make it. I mean, this was a heavy episode.
Man.
It was a great story. Sadly, a great story.
Yeah.
But it was a roller coaster.
Yeah, and I mean, I can relate to parts of that. Obviously, not military and whatever, but sexual assault for me as well.
Right.
And so it's like it sucks when you can. And this was similar to him in that it was by someone I knew. It was a boyfriend. So yeah, I know what that can do to your brain, and then to follow it up with basically you get in trouble for speaking out about it, and just
But don't not speak out.
No. And every time I do, with the tough topics of miscarriage or things like, the sexual assault and that kind of stuff, it's like when you talk about it, you realize how many people are like, oh yeah, me too. And, I also went through that. And it's people are, they say that because they've kind of been holding it in, because it's like, when do you bring that up?
What's a good time to talk about it? On a podcast?
Yeah. And so, when that opportunity arises, I encourage you, if you're comfortable, obviously, to speak out about that stuff, because the people who spoke out when those things happened to me were the reason it kept me going in those moments, because it can feel like in that moment, it can feel like you're the only one on the planet who's ever been through that.
Right.
And you feel all of the emotions, especially with it being my boyfriend. I felt like him, like, almost like, was this my fault? Like, is it really my fault? That's what they're telling me. They're like, and I didn't think, like, as it being a boyfriend, that was like a thing. I'm like, it's your boyfriend. That's not possible, because, and so it's just all these things, happen in your head, and then you realize, like, oh wait, so talk about it with people you feel comfortable.
Because even that's a form of therapy. And when he first told the story and the it helped him. So
and he helped that the homeless man and the.
I'm sure he's
way more than him, but
I'm sure
it just shows you the impact,
people.
The impact of sharing your story, and the fact that, like, you can push past those really dark, horrible moments. It's a lot. So
thanks,
have a good day. How do you end that? All right.
Thanks for so it's been another great episode of the Riley Black Project. Chris and John.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done.